My name is Matthew Klinsky, and today we're going to be talking about the three main variables associated with temp-to-perm pricing. This video is designed for anybody who has placed direct hire placements, who are familiar with the way that typical direct hire placements are calculated and priced, and those who maybe have done only temporary placements and who are very familiar with those areas, but have questions or concerns regarding a temp-to-perm buyout plan. Because as you all know that in 2020, quarter three and quarter four are going to be predominantly associated with temp-to-perm buyouts with these long-term contracts, just because your customers aren't going to have the ability to pay their direct hire fees up front. But they also want that good, strong kind of network with their candidates, so they provide long-term solution for their business. And so temp to perm kind of fills that role. And we're seeing a lot of our authorized dealers utilize temp to perm, not on either open direct hire contracts or on those temporary placements that potentially can be filled. So I just wanted to go through it. Now, as most of you know, a direct hire calculation really has two variables. You're taking a percentage of the salary, so it's really what is the negotiated salary and what is your percentage that you're making. And it's 1 to 2 variable because typically you don't negotiate that salary. And so as a recruiter, as an account manager, the only variable you're calculating is that percentage. And so when they say, hey, I don't like your 22%, can you come down to 21%? You either can say yes or no, but most likely you're going to drop your rate. And so you only have one variable to negotiate on, what makes it very hard to maintain your value. When you convert over and start thinking about temp to perm, there's 3 variables. I want to go through that with you just to give you the show how everything can work together. But the key is, and I always state this in all my videos that I talk about temp to perm, is really understand the value of your placement. The value, total dollar amount, profit in your bank, how much do you want to make in your profit from every candidate you place? Whether it's a direct hire, whether it's a completely contract, or whether it's a temp to perm, you should have that value in your mind, and you should not settle for anything less than that value for that candidate. And if you think that that candidate's worth that value, then you can find another customer to pay that value. But really don't, just use caution when you're negotiating yourself down. And when you're only doing direct hire, you really have no choice. But with a temp to perm, I'm going to show you ways that you can kind of maintain that value throughout the process. So in terms of the 3 main values, the first value is going to really be your hourly profit you make every hour in the bank account. You can call it your operational profit, you can call it your net profit, but typically it's going to be your hourly profit. And the hourly profit is going to be based on how strong and how well you negotiate your bill rate. So the variables that come into the hourly profit is really your bill rate. The higher your bill rate, the higher your profit. If you go in there and you're negotiating a 22% markup of the pay rate, and you're not going to make much money. But it's a variable, so you want to take however much you're making on an hourly basis, and typically the variables are going to be your bill rate and then your pay rate, whatever you decide to pay your contractor. And sometimes your customer will negotiate the pay rate, and sometimes you'll have the ability to negotiate the pay rate. But either way, as the employer of record, USA takes on that responsibility. But if you're going to do this yourself and you're going to be the employer of record, you have to be, watch both the negotiation with your candidate and the negotiation of your customer regarding the bill rate. Ultimately, these 2 numbers determine how much your hourly profit. If you're an authorized dealer, we give you this hourly profit in a $1 per hour situation. That's your guaranteed profit. So for us, our authorized dealers, on average make $6.50 per hour every hour that person's working, guaranteed, no extra costs. But that is going to be different if you're bringing it in-house or if you're using another back office service provider. But ultimately, you need to be able to calculate how much money you're making on an hourly basis with these contract workers. The second is the contract length or work, hours. So the second variable of this is you're going to know how much you make for every hour, and then you're going to determine how many hours have been worked to determine the value of your candidate, which ultimately leads to the third piece, which is the buyout fee. So we've seen a major change in 2019 and early 2020 with the buyout fee schedule. A lot of times in 2018, so maybe a year and a half ago, after 3 to 4 months, the buyout fee would go down to zero. So which means that you had to make all of your profit in the hours worked in the first 3 months. What changed in 2019 was the buyout fees. Because unemployment rate was so low, the buyout fees actually became much higher. They weren't zero anymore. They were 50% of the typical direct hire fee, or they were less or more. But essentially, there was some value on the buyout fee, even at 3 months, even at 6 months. And so, we've also seen an increase in the contract length. So you can run a temp to perm out for 2 months. You can run it out for 12 months. You can determine how the buyout schedule based on the number of hours are worked. So in our typical contract with the customers, when we're working with our authorized dealers, we want to know what's that dollar per hour you want to make for every placement, and then let's work backwards. So I'm going to give you an example here. Say that you want to make $20,000 per this placement. That's your goal, right? And so let's say, just to make it easy, you make $5 an hour profit every hour the candidate is working. So now all of a sudden, now it's every week for 40 hours, you're making times 40 hours, which equals 200 hours. Okay? This is just an example. So every week you're making $200. How many weeks are going to be worked during a specific contract? And so what you can do, and you can do it in billable hours, you can do it in billable weeks, you can do it however you want to do it. We typically do it in billable hours. And so, 160 hours, if you say, is 4 weeks. 320 hours is 4 weeks and then 2 months. 540 hours. So you get all these variables based on hours, but everything is based on a 40-hour work week. So every week you're making $200. And so if you want to make $20,000 and the person works for, let's say, 10 weeks, that means that times 10 weeks here means you made $2,000 up front on the temp, and now your buyout fee should be $18,000. If you're going to work longer than that, then you just subtract it from your goal, $20,000. Now, typically, if you're charging $20,000 on a direct hire fee, you're typically going to be making more than the $5 per hour if you're pricing it correctly. But even if your pay rate, let's say, is $100 an hour, if you're only charging $120 an hour, the taxes alone are going to be 18 of those $20. So you're only going to make $2 an hour. And so it's really, it starts with the pay rate and bill rate negotiations. Talk about the contract length, base it on a 40-hour work week just to determine it. And then your buyout fee should be what you want to charge as a direct hire and subtract out what you've already earned. So these are the three variables. Now, the best part about this is when you're negotiating with your customer, now you're not just changing your percent fee of the first year's salary. You're not just having a one variable negotiation. Now you can have multiple variables. So if the customer says, hey, I can pay you out more at the end, I need to have a smaller bill rate, okay. You can calculate it out and you can keep your variables. Hey, let's run it out longer or shorter depending on what they can pay. Some customers are saying, hey, I can only pay out $10,000 out of your $20,000 ask. How can we do it? Well, you could go up a little bit more on the bill rate. Maybe you can make $10 an hour your profit, and this is your take-home profit again. And then you can maybe run out the contract instead of 3 months, you could do 6 months. My point is that you're going to have multiple variables, and our team is here to help you with those variables. You'll have a dedicated operations supervisor, a dedicated staffing coordinator, and myself and our sales manager, all here to help you with these variables. And really, I can show you over and over. If you give me some good examples, I'm happy to show you what you should or could be charging and what you could or should be making every candidate you make. So with this in mind, next time you're negotiating with a customer, don't be afraid of the temp to perm. Make it, use it to your advantage. Make the most amount of money per placement, and don't be afraid to ask for help. We're here to help you. Thank you for watching. Have a good day.